Hi guys. Before we proceed to this video, we've got something very important to share with you. Neoliberalism, Inequality and Authoritarianism by Professor John V. Kofis is available for purchase. You can order it directly from the publisher Little French eBooks or through Amazon.
Welcome to a teaser session entitled The State Under Neoliberal Oligarchy. The fact is that in the last 45 years, in the era of neoliberalism, there has been a merging of the business class, the capitalist class, and the political class. And the state has come under the hegemony of the business class. In some cases, this is much more directly and obvious because the signs are very evident, as we saw in the first 100 days during the Trump administration from, it was inaugurated January 20th, 2025, when he brought the world's richest individual, Elon Musk, into the White House and gave him the task of disrupting, namely diminishing, gutting, weakening federal agencies from scientific and environmental to medical to labor to education, all agencies, in order supposedly to save money, when in fact the goal was to go one step forward, take one more step in handing the public sector to big business, and specifically to the Silicon Valley high-tech companies, where the argument rests that artificial intelligence will be doing the job much more efficiently and cheaper. This is obviously something of a delusion, considering they are planning to spend hundreds of billions to adopt high-tech systems that includes artificial intelligence, and in fact a pretext to simply hand over power of the public sector to the private sector. Now, so the merging of the market and the state is under the state under oligarchy control is an important issue. And on the week of May 13th, May 17th, these are the days that that President Trump visited 3 Gulf state countries, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Another issue emerged, where a couple of issues emerged actually, where it became, but one specifically, involving a gift, what is usually referred to in the Middle East as in the form of bakshish, where of course the Middle East leadership, the leadership of Qatar, I should say, and many in the Middle East saw no problem with that, gifted to the president. And this, of course, is one issue. The other issue is that the presidency itself it has been out there in public as a vehicle of promoting certain businesses in a style of conducting public policy as though we are back in the era of mercantilism in the 17th century, when governments under absolute monarchs picked and chose which trade routes would be given out, which businesses would conduct would be in certain sectors. Okay, so this is very important because it has to do with a configuration of the state that it is evolving under the neoliberal model. Now, there is, ever since the founding fathers decided in 1781, a law in the books. There is a law in the United States. It's the Emoluments Clause. Emoluments Clause was adopted from from the Dutch model. They were the first in the world to adopt an emoluments clause. In 1651, the U.S. did it in 1781 as it was becoming a new nation state after getting its independence from the British, from the mother country. Basically, it simply states that public officials, those holding office, cannot accept bribes, any kind of a gift from foreign governments, foreign officials, and so forth, because the idea of the founding fathers was to make sure that the public sector remains free of influence from foreign governments, private or public. And so here we are. We have the government of Qatar and Emirate interest family behind this. Offering a private jet, $400 million. It would cost hundreds of millions more to remold it into into Air Force One, by the way. As expensive as the plane is, it will cost the American taxpayer hundreds of millions more to convert it. Okay. Now, but even if before we get to that, never mind that the government of Qatar, many in the Middle East don't see a problem with that gift. There is a law that does not allow for it. Trump and the administration do not see a problem. And I have a feeling, although, by the way, both Democrats and Republicans, some Republicans, not all, have cried out that this is really crossing the red line. I have a feeling that the jet, I don't know what's going to happen, but the Trump administration will take the jet. But beyond that, there is another issue. There is the issue of the U.S. president taking along high-profile executives who provided funding for his campaign, including Elon Musk, and then lobbying on the behalf of these people to secure contracts from the Gulf states. Okay. Now, there are promises of trillions of dollars coming to the United States. Now, before we get enthusiastic about the trillions coming to the U.S. in the form of investment, instead of going to China and to the BRICS countries, okay, because there is a competition in the Middle East, by the way, about the integration of this region into the West or the China-based BRICS group. There is that competition. There is that reality. Okay. However, the model of the state that then under neoliberalism that the U.S. is following, with the merging with a billionaire in the White House, namely Trump, and the political class and the business class merging into one, and the business class having hegemony over the state, has posed enormous problems. And you can see the tense exchanges, watching congressional testimony, watching as Democrats on committees, specific committees, raising all sorts of questions about the law and ethics when Trump administration officials come up and have to answer for the administration. I have prepared a longer video which looks into what is the role of the state in society, which of course is defined by the social contract that a society has, and that, simply put, by the way, you can look at the US Constitution as a quick reference to that. And the question is, to what degree the liberal social contract, adhering to the Constitution, and even more important, to what degree is each administration that's coming in, and this is not about Trump, by the way, this is a structural issue, this is a systemic issue. If it were not Trump, it would be someone else doing probably more or less the same thing, because in the neoliberal era, everything is a commodity, from human beings to public policy. Foreign policy is a commodity. Selling commercial jets and selling weapons to the Arab countries is also selling protection to them. It's selling a segment of US foreign policy. It's telling them, buy the weapons. And it's no different, by the way, when countries buy from the French, okay, or the British. So I don't want to make this sound like this is the way it is. The fact is that these are multi-billion-dollar contracts, and in those contracts are tied policies of support from the country that's selling the hardware, the military hardware. So the situation is much more complex than, oh, gee, we got X billions of dollars in investment. Now, I want to end this introductory summary teaser video session by telling you that the latest public opinion polls indicate that the American people, the majority of the American people, not all, the majority of the American people do believe that the Trump administration is tilting toward authoritarianism. At the same time, because the tariff policies cause such havoc, and they continue to, such havoc in the markets, such chaos in the markets, and in the US as well as global economy, they also see it as an ineffective administration. Now, to be authoritarian and ineffective is really quite an accomplishment. Now, I'm not surprised at all, because usually authoritarian regimes are not very effective. They think they're effective. They project the image of effectiveness, the image of strength, when in fact there is quite a bit of chaos and irrationality in policies they pursue. Intended, of course, policies intended to serve narrow interests. I invite you to join me in the longer analytical video about the role of the oligarchy in redefining the democratic state as it is unfortunately eroding. I thank you for watching. I ask you to write comments, ask questions, and please join this channel. Thank you very much.